The snow had started falling hours earlier, soft and steady, the kind that made the city feel quieter than usual, like the world itself was holding its breath for Christmas. Ethan Carter adjusted the collar of his coat as he stood outside the small cafe on Maple Street, the warm glow from inside fogging up the windows. He checked his watch for the third time in 2 minutes and sighed. He wasn't late, she was. Or maybe she had taken one look through the glass, seen a tired single dad with faint dark circles under his eyes, and decided to keep walking. He wouldn't have blamed her. Blind dates were already awkward. Christmas blind dates were worse. Christmas blind dates when you were a widower with a 7-year-old daughter waiting at home were practically doomed from the start. Inside the cafe, soft carols played in the background. Couples laughed quietly, hands wrapped around mugs of cocoa and coffee, faces flushed from the cold and something warmer. Ethan felt out of place, like he'd wandered onto the wrong movie set. He wasn't supposed to be here tonight. He had agreed only because his sister had begged him for weeks, insisting that he needed to try living again, her words, not his. Living, as if he hadn't been doing that every single day for the last 4 years, for Lily. Lily. Just the thought of her made his shoulders relax a little. She had helped him pick his sweater earlier, standing on her tiptoes to straighten the front and declaring him almost handsome, which was Lily speak for a full endorsement. She had smiled when he left, though there was a carefulness to it, the kind children develop when they don't want to pressure a parent they love. He carried that smile with him now, heavy and precious in his chest. The door opened, a bell chiming softly, and a woman stepped in, shaking snow from her coat. She looked around, eyes scanning the room, and for a moment Ethan didn't realize he was holding his breath. She was not what he had expected, though he wasn't sure what he had expected at all. She had kind eyes, the sort that noticed things, framed by faint lines that suggested laughter rather than age. Her hair was pulled back loosely, strands escaping, and she wore a simple scarf that looked handmade. When her gaze landed on him, uncertainty flickered, then recognition. "Ethan?" she asked. He stood a little too quickly, nearly knocking his chair back. "Yes. You must be Sarah." She smiled, relief softening her features. "Hi. I'm so sorry I'm late. The buses are a nightmare tonight." "It's fine," he said automatically, though the knot in his stomach had already started tightening again. "Really? I just got here." They sat, ordered drinks, made the kind of polite conversation that felt like walking on ice. Safe words, careful smiles, the unspoken awareness that they were strangers playing roles assigned by well-meaning friends. Sarah talked about her work at the community center, about helping organize holiday drives and after-school programs. Ethan listened, nodded, responded when appropriate, but his mind kept drifting. He wondered if Lily had finished her homework. If she'd remembered to leave out cookies for Santa even though she pretended not to care anymore. If he was selfish for being here instead of home. When Sarah asked about him, he hesitated longer than he should have. "I'm an architect," he said finally. "Mostly residential. And I have a daughter." Her smile didn't falter. "How old?" 7. "That's a great age," she said warmly. "Old enough to have opinions. Young enough to still believe in magic." Something in her tone made him look at her more closely. "You sound like you know." "I work with kids all the time," she replied. "And I helped raise my younger brother." The conversation picked up slightly after that, but the spark everyone talked about, the easy flow, the laughter, never really arrived. There were pauses that stretched a beat too long, answers that felt rehearsed. Ethan caught himself glancing at the door, calculating how soon would be polite to leave. Sarah, he noticed, seemed to be doing the same thing, though she tried to hide it behind sips of her drink. Finally, she laughed softly, shaking her head. "I feel like we're both being very well behaved." He smiled, a little sheepish. "I was thinking the same thing. Maybe we're just tired," she said. "Or nervous. Or forcing something that isn't there," he added gently. She met his eyes, surprised, then nodded. "Yeah, that too." The honesty eased something between them, but it also confirmed what they both already knew. This wasn't going anywhere. When they stood to leave, the air between them was kind but resigned, like two people who respected each other but wouldn't be calling again. Outside, the snow had thickened, the streetlights glowing like halos. They walked together for a short distance, their breaths puffing white in the cold. At the corner, Sarah stopped. "It was nice meeting you, Ethan." "Truly." Likewise, he said. And, thank you. For being kind about it. She smiled. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. They parted ways, and Ethan felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. He pulled out his phone, already drafting a message to his sister to let her know it hadn't worked out, when a small voice called out behind him. Daddy. He froze. Slowly, he turned. Lily stood a few steps away, bundled in her red coat and crooked scarf, her cheeks pink from the cold. Beside her was Mrs. Alvarez from next door, waving apologetically. I'm so sorry, Ethan, she called. She insisted on coming to find you. Said it was urgent. Ethan hurried over, kneeling in front of his daughter. Lily, sweetheart, what's wrong? You're supposed to be home. She leaned in close, standing on her toes to whisper in his ear, her breath warm despite the cold. Daddy, she said with absolute seriousness, she's the one. She's my mom. His heart stopped. What? He whispered back, stunned. She pointed, subtle but clear, back down the street. Sarah was still there. She hadn't gone far. She stood under a streetlight, fumbling with her gloves, clearly waiting for a ride or gathering herself before heading home. Lily's eyes were shining, not with childish imagination, but with something steadier, something that made Ethan's chest ache. You don't even know her, he murmured. I do, Lily insisted. I felt it. Like when you know which cookie is yours even before you taste it. Behind them, Mrs. Alvarez pretended very hard not to listen. Ethan stood slowly, his pulse roaring in his ears. This was ridiculous, embarrassing, impossible. And yet, something tugged at him, the same something that had quieted when Sarah spoke about magic, about kids, about kindness without trying to impress. Lily, he said carefully, sometimes feelings can be confusing. But sometimes they're not, she said, squeezing his hand. Please. He closed his eyes for half a second, then opened them again. Stay here, he told Mrs. Alvarez. Just for a minute. Then he turned and walked back toward Sarah, his boots crunching in the snow, his heart pounding harder with every step. Sarah, he called. She looked up, surprised. Oh, hi. I know this is strange, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. But my daughter, she showed up. And she said something that I can't stop thinking about. Sarah's gaze flicked past him, landing on Lily. Her expression softened instantly, something unguarded and tender blooming.